Okay, I'll tell you this is the period of antibiotics started with penicillin, its discovery in 1921. I'll illustrate how it is becoming ineffective in the fight against tuberculosis. Initially, streptomycin, fantastic solution for tuberculosis, no issue at all. Subsequently, what happens is, in the case of streptomycin, what happens is, the relief is obtained fairly quickly, the patient stops coughing, he feels comfortable, then what do? You stop taking the medicine. Educated people do that. Something like tuberculosis, known for the problem of the undernourished, they naturally stop taking the medicine, even if the tuberculosis medicine is made available free of cost. When there is this medicine holiday, the organism bacteria does not keep quiet, bacteria quickly evolves and acquires a resistance against the medicine that is given. So, what happens is, as the dosage is increased, you are going to increase the dosage, bring in one more antibiotic to kill the same thing, but the bacteria doesn't rest there. It again goes and acquires an immunity, and the second antibiotic that has been charged against it, at some point in time, the doctor finds 2 antibiotics are not good, no good. He's scandalized, so he tries to look at the third antibiotic. So by even as early as 1955, we reached a level where tuberculosis cannot be handled by streptomycin. Streptomycin was no longer the magic bullet. You needed multiple drugs to handle that one illness. This story merely illustrates how what was considered the most potent armament, the Gandiva in the hands of allopathy, has slowly losing the battle to this tiny little microorganism called bacteria. Whatever success bacteria scored, amoebas, virus, all microorganisms have been able to score. Okay. Not only this, how is this bacteria managing? Before it dies on the onslaught of the streptomycin, it passes on that immunity to its children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. So the microbes keep passing on their knowledge and they evolve to become antibiotic resistant. In the case of some others, it's even more interesting. For food poisoning, the standard medication is you give a penicillin or something, the food poisoning just goes away. These passes on this information to other neighboring amoebas and bacteria, so all of them become immune. So what is the story? In the case of TB and streptomycin, that streptomycin became inefficacious, ineffective against tuberculosis. Whereas, when you hit short-lived microorganisms, that medication becomes ineffective, not only for the disease for which the attack was done, but lot of other things, because all those microorganisms are living within us all the time. So, against lot of other diseases also, these antibiotics become ineffective. Once this is done, you see how the others become stronger and become acute. Today, you have multi-drug resistant tuberculosis, you have extremely drug resistant tuberculosis, you have totally drug resistant tuberculosis. The idea behind talking about traditional sciences to see whether there is room for traditional sciences today. In the area of medicine, with the looming imminent failure of some of those most powerful medication that have been available in the field of, for example, tuberculosis and various other diseases, I think a room is coming into being. Now, somebody could say, look here, I have not taken any medicine, I do yoga in the morning, I walk in the evening, I am vegetarian, very sattvic life, so my system would not have any antibiotic resistance. That is not true, because you are recipient of these various antibiotic resistant strains, the milk that you take, the vegetables that you take, because believe me, whether Bhagavan is omnipotent or not, bacteria are omnipotent, they are present everywhere, and therefore, in some fashion, you imbibe. On the other side, look at, let us say this is what it is. So, antibiotics are becoming ineffective. Drugs are becoming, or they are more powerful than what, bacteria are more powerful than what they were 100 years ago. And there is a, then can you say, can I depend upon my own immunity? Why should I bother about drugs? If I am strong, there is a natural immune system, therefore I will be strong. Even that is not possible, because India, for example, is already or becoming the diabetic capital of the world. There are 65 million diabetic in this country, or a large population of this country is immune compromised. They are deficient in their immunity. They need external help for them to fight diseases. 7 of them: AIDS, cancer, organ transplant, and anybody who has been treated for cancer. So we have a large immune compromised population. We have a large antibiotic resistant microorganism, and newer antibiotics are not emerging. There is a stagnation, because as you move from one tier to another tier, there is always a greater compromise in terms of effectiveness and the side effects. This is a disaster waiting to happen. Somebody did mention, in about 20 years, we will be, the medical state situation would be what it was 100 years ago, because the most important portion would have gone. The answer is, should Ayurveda be the answer? Well, it has a two-pronged strategy: strengthens the immune system, and also because these microorganisms are as old as you and I, as old as macroorganisms. They have been there since the beginning of civilization. So it is possible that Ayurveda could fill in the gap. For example, it's already known that honey has some antimicrobial properties. This question was asked not only by us, but somebody else whom we recognize. Bill Clinton, the American president, asked this question in 2000. They set up a commission on complementary and alternative medicine. Not only were they worried about their health, the health of the health system, but they were extremely worried about the cost on the exchequer of the medical system. They examined various systems of medicine, ultimately coming to the conclusion it is worthwhile pursuing Ayurveda as an alternative system of medicine. This is the place where you should stand up and clap. This is the place where the independent body in the US came to the conclusion that Ayurveda is worth pursuing. The other practice examined is Tai Chi. Tai Chi is not a system of medicine, more like yoga. The one question that should arise in your mind is, how come yoga has been missed out? How come yoga has not been clear? Because yoga is considered spiritual. All this is theory. In practice, have you got something? Yes. What Charaka said years ago, McGill University, Canada validated that milk makes a difference to birth weight of children. Super brain yoga is what you call Topukarnam. That is now considered appropriate treatment for autism children as recently as 2005. Tuberculosis and cancer, rifampicin and Taxol. Higher the dosage, better the cure. Higher the dosage, you see the way the patient is ravished by the heavy medication chemotherapy. Is there a solution to it? That is the solution. Govan Sansthan, Lucknow and CSIR, there is a US patent to show if Panchagavya is co-administered, the dosage can be reduced by half. Okay? Now I am sure each of you will be able to recall your relative who has suffered from chemotherapy, but this benefit has not reached, though the patent was obtained several years ago, 12 years ago. Leech therapy is now as an FDA approval. Now, one family of 4 brothers, Abbas Muhammad, Abdul Rahman, Abdul Qadir, Muhammad Alama, have got a US patent for extracting the saliva of leeches for administration in leech therapy. They are truly the heir to Sushruta, because when you talk about traditional science, it becomes yours only when you put an effort. Your father leaves $1 million, it's yours without an effort. But if there is knowledge, it becomes yours only when you put in effort and not automatically. You've got to put in trust, faith, and effort, and have a scientific temperament. These guys, whatever, Abdul Qadir and company, have had that trust, there is something there, worked on it, and they have now got a patent for a method of extracting the saliva of the leech. Similarly, DRDO has done some effort recently and got somewhere. Now, all this I have illustrated. There is a need for an alternative to antibiotic regime. There have been specific identified solutions where Ayurveda is scoring over the allopathic medicine. But all this is possible only if you learn Ayurveda. Just because Charaka wrote a book or Sushruta did it in 600 BCE, it is not knowledge. That knowledge will have to be rediscovered. Let us quickly look at how that knowledge was acquired traditionally. Traditionally, you have Vedas, Vedangas, Upangas. There are 6 Vedangas. Those 6 are Shiksha, Vyakarana, Chandas, and Niruktam. Now, no matter what is the level of specialization a person went into, he learned all this, whether he subsequently wanted to become a doctor, engineer, or a carpenter. Because that is the sharpening of the tool that Kaisen talks about. They understood all this before they touched Charaka. Do you understand my point? So, to actually understand what Charaka and Sushruta and Vagbhatta had in their mind, it is important you need Shiksha, Vyakarana, Chandas, and Nirukta. That was the original method of learning. Let us see how it compares with this. Currently, I spoke to somebody who teaches Sanskrit in Ayurveda college. 99% of the students move from translation English, Hindi, Malayalam, or possibly Bengali. All commentaries are not translated. Only the original works are translated. Charaka, Sushruta, Vagbhatta would be translated. Maybe some important commentaries are written. So there's a huge library of knowledge. Half the library is closed for you. Only a fraction of the library is open for you. This cannot sustain. You cannot say, I can do that. It's impossible unless you are able to accept. And also, there's a contextual interpretation. Language has a specific meaning in specific domain. I can give you an illustration from Tamil. When you say milk, pal, the equivalent word for Tamil, milk in Tamil, it would mean milk. Whereas in the hands of a mason, it will mean cement liquefied. So domain-specific lingo is there. If you want to understand all of them, it's important that you go from the original. So where do you go? I have raised an issue. I have raised an opportunity. Where do you go from here? In my opinion, the spoken Samskrita format offers an opportunity, and Sanskrit education, language education, should be preparatory. It should be there at school level whether a person enters Ayurveda or not, and also concurrent alongside the Ayurveda education. Now, theory is the only part. Theory doesn't make you a doctor. What makes you a doctor is practice, where there is always a Guru Shishya Parampara. That chain is completely broken. I once had an opportunity to address some Sanskrit scholars. I found each of them, the sons have gone into civil engineering or into computers. None of them had pursued Sanskrit. So if that is a state of affairs, that chain is broken. If you really want to reclaim Ayurveda, it's important that you learn Ayurveda, which means bright boys and girls will have to enter the field of Ayurveda. I don't know. I have just raised some of this question. Where an answer occurred to me, I put down the answer. Where an answer does not occur to me, I just raised it as an issue. I really don't know how we will attract bright boys and girls into Ayurveda. The second thing is, even after you have learned practice, it grows only by repeated usage, when you keep seeing patients after patients. Now, for that to grow, you need two things. One, you need Ayurvedic doctors and you need Ayurvedic patients. Now, I spoke to a doctor friend of mine in Nagpur. There are 4 Ayurvedic colleges producing 200 Ayurvedic doctors every year. Do you think that's a good number? 200 Ayurvedic doctors in one town in Maharashtra. But unfortunately, Ayurvedic graduates do not translate into Ayurvedic doctors. 95% of those people who hold the
Can we now
degrees.
conclude, please?
Pardon?
Conclude.
Yeah, I'll do that. They go into other practices, so there are not enough doctors. The patient would come for quasi-health care, niche areas, come as a last resort. I don't know what is the way forward. I just have one more point. Ayurveda is substantially herb-based. If you take any herb, it will be full of chemical. It is possible to restore it. I spoke to somebody in the organic farming. A regularly abused, not seriously abused, regularly abused land where you have grown wheat or paddy can be restored in 5 years' time to organic grain production level with serious intervention, not by leaving it fallow, but doing intensive organic cultivation for 5 years, it can be restored, provided it is used to grown, let's say wheat or paddy. If it's grown for something like ginger, which is considered an Ayurvedic raw material, it will take a lot more time. In fact, some of it could be counterproductive. The way ginger is cultivated today with a massive doses of fertilizers and pesticide, using ginger could in fact be dangerous. We don't know how long it will take to put it on. Panchakavyam, you talk about it, I talked about it, but do you dare use Panchakavyam today? Because all the feedstocks have certain amount of this thing. Even this is possible. 4 to 5 generations of cow. Means something 30 years after you started the first cow, you might be able to reach something which can be achieved in 20 years. It's a hard ask, it's a very difficult task, but I think it's worthwhile doing it. If you believe it, you'll teach it. Thank you.